have a couple of different items to attend to this evening that are not on the agenda. We'll get through them. First, Ms. Middleton, roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle,
Here.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Here.
Commission Member Howe,
Here.
Commission Member Williams,
Here.
Commission Member Witt.
Here.
Okay, and we were going to separate the approval of the minutes, which is agenda item 3, into two separate ones because we had different attendees on those 2 different days. The first, January 4th, we definitely have a quorum to approve that one. So if we want to get a motion to approve the minutes for January the 4th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve minutes from January 4th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commission Member excuse me, Cornelius,
I abstain. I was not present.
Commission Member Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Abstain, I was not present.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay, and for the second minutes we have on the agenda this evening, November the 7th, we don't actually have a quorum of members who were on the commission and present that evening, so I've spoken to the city attorney. He said you do not have to actually have been on the dais at that time, so long as you've read them and approved them and were present for the meeting. And Commission Member Williams was present for that meeting. Have you had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so he will be eligible to vote on the approval of that, and we'll still have a quorum to approve. So, if I can get a motion to approve the minutes for November 7th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for November 7th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Commission Member Williams, a second by Mr. Cornelius. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Howe,
Abstain.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Abstain.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay. Now that that's settled, we actually have one more item as we go into new business. We have not had leadership elections for appointing a chairperson and vice chairperson for the commission, as our former chairperson is now on the county commission. So we need to begin with nominations for vice chairperson. And if I can nominate Commissioner Member Howe.
Second.
Any other offerings? Okay. So we have a nomination and a second for Commissioner Member Howe. If we can get a roll call, please.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Howe,
You can vote.
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. And then we have to decide on a chairperson. So if we can get a nomination, please.
Make a motion to nominate Mr. Tuggle.
Second.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second. Can we have the roll call, please, Ms. Middleton?
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay, and welcome to our new members, by the way. Mayor Williams, who is back in his own stead. He never left, but he had an appointee, and he's now sitting on the commission, and of course, Councilwoman Witt. Very nice to have you. And we now have a full planning commission again. It's nice to have everybody represented. And now we can get on to the new business, which is the request of Trevor Jack to have the property located at 918 South Crest Road.
Give me just a second to change
Sure.
this list, okay?
Okay, yep, no problem at all.
Thank you.
You got to call it out in order.
We have different names, so we have to call them in order, so bear with us 1 second. I'm just seeing how fast you can write.
Oh, we have a moment. Congratulations to both of you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
I can read it after I write it this quick, but. I think I've got it.
Okay, the item of new business this evening is a request from Trevor Jack to have the property located at 918 South Crest Road and 1000 South Crest Road, tax map ID number 168NH001 and tax map ID 168NH001-001. or .01, rezone from R1 residential district to R2 residential duplex district. Mr. Howell, do you have, are you representing the applicant?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commission. So 918 South Crest has an existing duplex located on the parcel, which is zoned R1, which makes it legal non-conforming. While 1000 South Crest is actually 2 vacant lots that are zoned R1. Rezoning 198 South Crest to R2 would make the parcel conforming to the district which it serves. Rezoning 1000 South Crest would add 2 additional duplexes to the area. To the west of both parcels, there are currently R2 zone districts within the city of Chattanooga. East of the parcels, there are single-family residential. West contains a mixture of single-family and duplexes fronting John Ross, zoned R1. The RPA staff recommendations stated surrounding land use is compatible, as well as the development form. There were no concerns with lighting, height, or location. The adjacent residential density is 5.3 dwelling units per acre. Proposed density would be 5.97 dwelling units per acre, which is the addition of 2 proposed duplexes in that area. Staff would recommend approval for both 918 and 1000 South Crest to be rezoned from R1 to R2.
Great, thank you. And there is a letter from the applicant providing some written narrative surrounding it, and this is in the minutes, so it'll be a matter of record, but he does indicate that they do not have current plans to redevelop 1000 South Crest. However, if approved and they make that decision in the future, they would look to build a duplex as allowed by zoning right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the request? Seeing no one, is there anyone here to speak against the request? Would you please come to the podium and say your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is James Huckabee. I live on Missionary. I've been there for 25 years. I moved in there when my son was about 1 year old.
Okay, and what's the address there for the court reporter? I'm sorry, for the city recorder. What's the address of your residence?
416 Missionary.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, the property in question was at one time a house, and that's when it was probably whatever you're saying what zone it is. And now they're wanting to put a duplex there. Yes, there was a quadruplex adjacent to it immediately next door. There was a triplex on the corner that he's talking about that comes straight down my road. That is R1, as you call it. There's not many houses up there that are R2, except for that one 4 quadruplex, I call it. I've never stopped in there. Well, this house that they're talking about in the property that they're talking about putting duplex on, that property, when it was a house, they tore it down. They sit here and they come in, they change the slope of the property. When they come in and change the slope of the property, all of a sudden the water flows down toward my house and is washed out underneath my house. And now when it rains heavy, all the water comes down, it hits the side of my house, flows underneath. Everything under my house gets soaking wet, and it's like a river coming through when it's flowing heavy. And it's all because this one piece of property was so demolished, it was crud of a house. They had 2-story balcony up on it that was held up by 2 wooden posts. That was horrible to look at. When it was finally tore down, it looked great. But then they come in, they change the flow of the water, then I caught the results. Now I'm sitting here having to deal with water displacement, what's going to happen, and up on that corner, one place or one house away, they have a big pothole that they dug out because all the water retaining up on South Crest, and I'm sure that's what they're talking about, plans of improving it. This was a historical site. They fought the Civil War here in this area. All of a sudden, we're going to change this meaning and what it meant at one time to put a bunch of houses up there to make money. These people that are going to live in duplexes come and go. I've lived there for 25 years. And now my house is going to be zoned rental property. The value of my house is going to go down. Every year, the value of my property goes up, enough to where my escrow comes up short. Why is my escrow coming up short? The value of property in East Ridge is going up. This right here is going to hurt the value of East Ridge, even though it's that one piece right up on top of the hill. Funny how it's zoned. That's just the way it is. My property is adjacent to Georgia. I have a fire in my backyard. East Ridge shows up. Catoosa County or Walker, whichever one it is, shows up 30 minutes later because they're on reserve. But I'm opposed to it for a simple fact that I'm losing my property due to the development of something just to make somebody money. And that's apartments. That's duplexes. Come in and make some nice place, that would be great, but I don't see it happening. The places that he's talking about on down the road, these houses are grandfathered in as these rental places. That's why they're R1s instead of R2s. Do we need to go in and change just that one area for him to build an R2 and to build money?
Sure, I appreciate that. Thank you for your feedback. Mr. Howell, question, if there is development on that second parcel, would there be water runoff considerations for new development? Because I know we have the 2018 building codes now.
Well, yes, I'll just go and say yes on that.
So
Because
if there's new construction, there would be water attenuation that would presumably improve the situation compared to what it is now for him.
virtually what you have now is just a lot that slopes, and I'm assuming this is your house here? Is that correct? This is the parcel in question here. This is you.
This is the triplex,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
This is not me, this is me right
Okay.
here.
So obviously with that house,
He owns 2 lots right there.
with that house being removed, you've got a lot of water that's coming off that property, you know. Adding an additional structure on there would help alleviate some of that problem, but you would still have to capture some of that water in the back. You're not required, because of the fact that this is less than 1 acre, to do any type of water retention on that property.
Is that based upon R1 rules or R2 rules?
Oh, that's Hamilton.
It doesn't matter, that's the county. Yeah.
Matter. And once again, you know, and I've stated several times to this board, this was zoned urban residential in the day, and you've got a lot of stuff, I don't like using the grandfather term, it's really
Sure.
legal non-conforming. You have a multitude of, you know, triplexes and duplexes off John Ross there, coming off, you know, going into Georgia as well, so that's the gist, would be the gist of this rezone, to keep conformity with that, because you might have some of these properties coming in the near future saying, hey, we're a duplex, we've always been a duplex, now we're seeking that R2 district. You know, because if, like I've said before, if something were damaged to those houses, they can never be built back as an R2.
Right,
They have to go as a single family because of its zoning district.
right, they pre-exist that zoning.
That just increases the value of the property if all of a sudden you start getting rid of duplex and you start building single-family homes. And that's one reason I bought in that neighborhood. I bought in East Ridge because we were single-family homes. We weren't people passing through. We're here for a long time.
Sure. Great, well, appreciate your feedback, sir. Thank you. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways this could be done. There are 2 different parcels in question. So if there's any further discussion from the commission, anybody?
I want to hear what your 2 options are.
Well, there are 2 separate parcels in question, so I believe we could make recommendation with restrictions or changes. We can approve it as requested. We could deny it as requested, so they don't have to be considered together. There are 2 parcels in question. One of them is the empty one. One of them is the obviously already R2, already a duplex that is a different situation entirely. So is there any further discussion or questions from the commission?
I have a question. Is there anything that can be done currently with the water runoff from this property after it was cleared,
Not to my knowledge.
not to your knowledge?
Anytime, Tennessee's a free flow state. And I hate to say this, and people and citizens hate it when I tell them this, but if you have an adjacent piece of property and there's water coming off that property, you're required by the state of Tennessee to accept that water. Now, if they're doing something to, you know, increase that water flow, you know, as in, you know, making a diversion straight to your property, you know, that's a different story. But if we're having sheet flow off this property and it's causing issues down the line, that's a civil issue at this point, and not the city's.
Once you start laying foundation to a house, that's covering footage, square footage, and you gotta absorb that water somewhere, and all of a sudden that makes it runoff water and storm water. Then that becomes the city's problem because the storm water runoff coming down tearing my house up. I've been at the point over these years watching my basement just wash out. I try to keep everything in my basement up for stormy days where the wind and the rain is so heavy that it comes downhill from this property that I didn't know who owned. or who to perceive and say, hey, you should be liable for my basement washing out. You should come down here with truckloads of dirt and make it where the water don't hit my house. I'm talking about the whole backyard, the whole slope is changed.
Sure. Yeah, and I believe Mr. Howell's point is that the county zoning essentially allows that, so it's a civil matter, but you could pursue that as a civil matter. But yeah, I definitely appreciate your feedback on that. Thank you.
There's absolutely nothing that, states that says that you can't do anything to alleviate that problem as well. If you're having that sheet flow off onto your property, you can do things to, not that I know,
I shouldn't have to
not that
divert
I know
my
you don't want
property
to,
because
right?
of what they've done.
Right. There again, that would be civil, where you'd contact, Hamilton County tax assessor has all the names on the property cards. You can get their address.
And you're representing that party right now?
Well,
sir,
no,
I'm
he's
not
representing the
at
city.
all.
There's not a representative from the applicant this evening.
But you're
He's a
right.
city official.
But y'all are sitting here to decide whether we change that to R1 or R2, so that falls into y'all's decision whether I continue to get washed out and the price of my property goes down, which what that does then is my taxes lowered then because I'm a R2 property instead of R1.
It doesn't change the zoning for your property.
That does it not change. That's why I'm here, because the letter said it does.
No, the letter's saying that one of your neighbors' zoning is changing. Yours would not.
The only thing that's gonna affect me is the water runoff, the traffic.
If they build a new building, it should reduce your water runoff. If they don't, then nothing would change and you want to pursue it civilly. But they're saying in the letter they don't intend to build a new building, so I wouldn't expect a change on that.
Said that they weren't gonna change, they were, if you're gonna change it to a duplex, that means you're gonna build duplexes.
They're changing,
They are
yeah.
existing.
Right, there's an existing one. And they're trying to fix the zoning from the existing one, but the notice is actually about that, your neighbor's property, not about yours. Your zoning doesn't change.
Right, but it all flows downhill.
That's
so
right.
There is interest on my behalf
Sure, no, absolutely. And we appreciate your feedback on that, for sure.
over about this.
Yes, no, thank you. And we'll have to entertain motions, et cetera, but I appreciate that. Thank you. It's recorded, you're in the record, so we appreciate your feedback.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, entertain any motions, either as approved or amended, or if you want to decline.
I'd make a motion to amend the applicant and to rezone the R2 for the existing duplex on 918 South Crest. Can we require the applicant to apply separately for 1000 South Crest?
Okay. There's a motion to separate the parcels. I believe the .001 is 1,000 South Crest. Is that right, Mr. Howell? Do you know?
I'm
The
sorry.
.001 parcel, is that the 1,000 South Crest?
Yes, that would be this parcel here.
Okay, got it. So the motion from Chairperson Howell, I'm sorry, not Chairperson, Vice Chairperson Howell, now I'm struggling with it, is to amend to approve as requested for 168NH001 and to decline the request for 001.01.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a second? Or a different motion? Either one.
I'll second it.
Okay. A motion and a second?
Repeat that.
Sure. So the motion is to approve the zoning request to R2 for 168NH001 and to deny it for 168NH001.01, and it would remain as R1.
Which is the vacant lot.
That's correct.
Which is 1,000 South Crest.
Right.
Is the deny, and the approve is the 918 South Crest.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. Yep.
If I'm reading this right, it's saying that 918 is the Donald.
Oh, good. Well, then we want to do 918. The existing one is, my understanding from,
I apologize. I've made it too complicated.
I think we knew what you meant, but we still have to say it correctly. Yeah, let's do it, best read it.
Actually, 918 and 1000 does not have a copy. From what I'm reading in this, and that's in this letter, it could be different.
Yeah, I see that from RPA.
Okay.
case.
So RPA is different than the letter.
So we use street addresses. The motion is for 918 South Crest to remain R1 and 1000 South, I'm sorry, to be changed to R2.
Rezone
Zone to
918
R2.
to R2, correct.
That's right. And then 1000,
Conforming, right?
that's correct.
Correct.
It is already an existing duplex. And then 1,000 South Crest would be denied and would remain as R1.
Can we make a recommendation to the applicant that if they decide to develop on 1,000 South Crest, they come before planning again?
Well, they'll have to. So we denied it.
Right.
Well, they can build a single-family home.
Correct.
And I think they can apply again after 6 months, as I recall. So,
Yes, even though denied in this body, if they request to move it forward to city council, it still, of course, go, but it, yeah.
Correct. They can appeal it to council.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Middleton, are you ready for a roll call? Okay.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes,
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I promise the next ones will go more smoothly and closer to the agenda. So thank you very much for attending. This meeting is adjourned. Had a lot of audibles in that.
Okay. The recording's still going back here.
going, don't forget.
Oh, Michael's getting it.
Yeah. It'll make sense by the time it gets to the minutes, it'll be fine.
Michael, there's instructions on that sheet.
That made my head hurt after a minute.
I apologize. I didn't mean to
That's
make it
all right.
complicated, but there's no development on it right now, and they have no plans to.
Address the one that's non-conforming and.
Although the gentleman left before knowing that we actually sided with him, so.